Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find us on the web, caltoncutlery.com. I make an apology right at the start of this video. It's probably going to be a long one. This is the 6-inch contact wheel that I cast out of aluminum using the green sand method. I went ahead and cast it. I stuck it on the lathe. I cleaned it up, got it near as equal, like this is the same thickness as this, and all that kind of stuff. Got the face nice and flat, but since this is going to be a contact wheel for my grinder, I'd really like to have the face of this wheel be a little bit softer than just straight up aluminum. Now I still have to bore the hole in the center for the shaft and then cut the pockets for the bearings on both sides, and then mount it. But I figured before I had all the bearings and everything in place, now would be a good time to coat the face of the wheel in rubber. I didn't even know that this was available until just a couple of weeks ago or so. I was surfing on the net and I found a guy that mentioned it, and I thought, well, hey, that looks pretty cool. So after some web researching and everything, there's not really a whole lot on it that I could find out there. I came up with this place called Specialty Resin, and I bought some of their products. But we're going to come back to that. Right now we're going to go ahead and finish setting this wheel in the mold, and we're going to use some caulking to put it in there and seal the things up, and then I'll go back to talk about that. I'll show you the website on my laptop and everything while the caulking is drying. So what I have here, I've got the wheel, and then I've got this mold that I made up. And all the mold is some roof flashing. I think it's 10. Just got a square of it for the base, and I've got some shop bricks on it because it comes in rolls, so it wants to roll back up. I've got the inside, okay, so this is just a flat sheet, and then this right here is a 2.5-inch wide strip that I cut of it, and then taped it together. I just kind of eyeballed it to make sure that we're going to go for like a 1/2 inch or so rubber coating around the outside. I'm going to use some, I was looking around, I don't have any petroleum jelly, but I do have some Snow Seal. So we're going to try that out as a release agent. I'm not going to coat the bottom because if it sticks I can just cut it off on the lathe. What I'm going to do is just coat the outside of the rim here. That's going to be the face of the rubber, or the face of the wheel. Just give it a light coating of Snow Seal, and with a little bit of luck, that won't it won't hurt the castable rubber, but it'll make it easier to get this piece off. Like I said, I will be turning after I coat this wheel with this rubber, if it works out. This is the very first time I've ever worked with it, so usually I wait until I've tried something a couple of times, tested it out, and made sure that it worked before I make a video on it. So it kind of sort of makes it sound like I know what I'm doing. This system right here, I wanted to go ahead and do a video of it as I was doing it, just to change things up a little bit. So I got the inside face of this mold waxed up. Now we need my caulking gun. And what we're going to do here is, if I put this flat on the sheet, then that rubber is only going to come right up to here. And I'd kind of like it to kind of come up around, just kind of come up over the lip a little bit. And I also don't want that rubber running inside and trying to fill this area up. So I'm just going to lay a bead of caulking around the rim. Just to raise the wheel up off of that bottom portion a little bit, and then also to make a seal there. About like that. And then I did scuff the face of this up really good with some 60 grit sandpaper. Try to get this as centered in here as I can. If it's not perfectly centered, like I said, it doesn't really, that won't really, it shouldn't really affect anything, because I'm going to mount the whole wheel on the lathe afterwards and true the face of the rubber up. So now I also want that rubber to come up over this side also. So I'm going to lay another bead of epoxy on this, or another layer of caulking on the top. Okay, now that should give us, I should be able to puddle that stuff up over the very edge of the wheel, and then that caulking will, you know, hold it back from filling inside the wheel itself. And, you know, like I said, this is my first time. I have no idea how messy this stuff is. I did find a couple of videos from the manufacturer on YouTube, but they appeared to me to be more, they sell basically epoxy, or a castable epoxy type of deal, basically castable plastic. I'm taking it, and then they sell this stuff, which is the castable rubber. Okay, now we'll put our shop brick on there again, just to make sure that everything stays nice and flat. I put this epoxy on here about, or this caulking on here about an hour ago to make a seal around the outside. It's a little bit on the cold side in the shop. Hang on, I'll get you a temp. It's 57 degrees in the shop, so that should be warm enough to at least get the caulking skimmed up pretty good. Anyway, so let's go back to the research I did on this stuff. Searching for castable rubber, I found this book right here. Ordered it up off of eBay, I think. I think it was about $19. Probably plus shipping and handling. How to cast small metal and rubber parts. Now, this is the second edition, and the copyright is 1986. So apparently this is fairly old technology. I just haven't heard about it yet. But I tell you, half of this book is devoted to casting metal parts, mostly aluminum, brass, bronze, and copper. And the other half is devoted to casting rubber parts. And in it, he talks about DevCon Flexane. It sounds like really fascinating stuff, and it sure sounds like it's kind of about the same technology as this stuff right here, which is specialty resin Flexit 70. Okay, now when I ordered this stuff, I was kind of hoping that it would have, you know, a little, some instructions to go along with it. It does say you mix one to one by weight or volume, so we're going to do volume here. I'll tell you about that in a second. The working time is 6 minutes, so once you mix them, you have 6 minutes to get your mixing and your pouring done before it starts to set up. Your demold time is 2 hours, and 0 solvents and shake before using. It says the MSDS is available on their website, and I went and looked at that, but it really didn't give me a whole lot of the stuff that I was after. Things like, what kind of temperature you should keep it at when you're working with it. What's the shelf life on the stuff? Let me get this light off so it makes it easier to see. Kind of a range of usable thicknesses, like casting the face of this wheel here with it. Should I go with a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch? How thick does it need to be to stay? Anyway, this is the guy's card that came with the product. This is their website. Sure hope it shows up better on the video than on this little bitty screen. And it's specialtyresin.com. This is their home page. You come over to here, and the Flexit 70 is what I got. I ordered a gallon kit of it. It was 60. You're probably not going to be able to see that. $65.99. I think it was $15 for the shipping. It makes a gallon total, I guess, is what they're saying. Let's get you back over to here, and we'll go over calculating the volume. This is basically a wheel inside of a wheel setup. I guess it'd help if you and I were both looking at the same thing. So I got on the net and I tried looking for volume calculators, to be able to calculate the volume of a cylinder, and then subtract the volume from of the smaller cylinder to be able to get how much of this stuff to mix up. And I must have been doing it wrong, because it kept coming up with like 100 cubic inches, and then I plugged the 100 cubic inches into a cubic inches to fluid ounces calculator, and it came up telling me I needed like 53 ounces of this stuff. And I'm just looking at that down in there thinking there is no way that that's going to be 53 ounces. So I went with the old sand method. I put everything together the way I wanted it, only without the caulking on the face of the wheel, and I filled it up with a measuring cup full of just dry masonry sand. I have this on hand for doing styrofoam casting. Okay, so I just poured it all in there, and then dumped it out, and then poured everything that was in here after I pulled the wheel out into here, and I came up with about a cup. So then I split the cup. So since we're doing by volume, we ought to stay in volume. But it says you can mix it 1 to 1 by weight or volume, so we're just going to stick with the volume. So I came up with 2 of these cups filled up to about there. So what I'm going to do is going to go ahead and fill them both up to the top here, and then throw both of them into my red Solo cup. These red Solo cups work really, really good for mixing epoxy or what's the other stuff I use when you're making your own micarta? Automotive body resin, kind of like Bondo, but not quite the same. Mix both of them in here, mix it up, hit our timer right there so that we've got our 6 minutes worth of working time, and then we'll go ahead and pour it in here into the mold. And then if there's any extra, which I'm betting there's going to be, we'll go ahead and put them inside these little wax-coated paper cups. And that'll give us two different things. One of them will wax paper hold this stuff. You know, I have no idea if this is going to generate any heat or how much heat it's going to generate, you know, when you have your chemical reaction for the two parts. So that'll let us know if a wax paper type of deal will hold it. And then also, you know, that could be a really usable size. If I fill these up about 3/4 of the way full, this is the 70 durometer hardness. So a 70 durometer hardness in a shape about like that, I think if I, you know, I could throw them in my spare parts stash and they could make really good, you know, rubber feet for some machine or other. But anyway, so we've got a different cup or set of cups that don't have any sand in them. Mixing stick, rubber gloves. Probably crack the shop door open a little bit. Like I said, I've never even broke these things open. I have no idea how you know, powerful the fumes are going to be, if there are any off of it. Anything like that. We've got our release agent. We've got some popsicle sticks here. They say to be real careful to make sure that your mold is level. I highly doubt this table is level, but instead of putting a level on it or anything, I figure what I'll do is mix the stuff up, pour it in here, and then I'll be able to tell, you know, the level of the liquid in the mold, whether it's level or not, and then stick some popsicle sticks up underneath the ceramic tile to act as shims to kind of level everything up if it needs it. Okay, well, it looks like we got 7 minutes left on my camera, and this is probably going to take more like 10 minutes to mix up, pour, and clean up. So we'll end this video right now and start another one. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in just a second.